joined by the Honorable Councilmember Alex Wan, the Honorable Councilmember Matt Westmoreland, the Honorable Councilmember Howard Shook, and to my right, the Honorable Councilmember Andrea Boone. I'll entertain a motion to second. It's been moved, probably second. Mr. Johnson, please open the vote.
Mr. Chair, you repeat the seconder.
Antonio Lewis, seconder. Mr. Shook was the mover.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. The agenda has been adopted.
Before we do that, I would like to take our communications first before we proceed with our presentations for this morning. Before we proceed with our presentation this morning, can we have a motion to adopt the agenda?
Mr. Chair, we already adopted the agenda, so we can just move on to the minutes.
Okay, the minutes. It's been moving properly second. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. The minutes have been approved.
I would like to take our communications before we proceed with the presentation of this morning. Can we have a motion to adopt Mr. Johnson, can we please take our communications?
Mr. Chair, our next item is public comment, but we have no one signed up for public comment, so therefore we can move to our communications.
Please.
Section G, Communications, item number 1, 25C0058, a communication from council members Liliana Bakhtiari, District 5, Alex Wan, District 6, and Matt Westmoreland, Post 2 at large, reappointing Ms. Roseanne Monteith to serve as a member of the Water and Sewers Appeals Board. This appointment is for a term of 2 years to begin retroactively on March 4th, 2025 and expire March 3rd, 2027.
Is Ms. Roseanne here? How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Tell us a little about yourself and why you want to serve on the community.
I'm a retired social worker, having worked with foster kids and their families for most of my career. I've been on the board for the last 2 terms, and this would be my 3rd term. It's been quite an experience, excellent. I've learned a lot.
It's been moving properly second. Mover was Mr. Westmore. Mr. Wan, seconder was Mr. Wan. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable.
I'll let you know, Ms. Roseanne, you're about to see a little action in that committee, that we are about to bring them to our committee hearings. So they're going to tell us a few things about what's been going on. So I'm excited about the work you've been doing, and I'm excited about what we're doing moving forward. We've been able to add a few more people to that board. So let's
Atlanta, to Mr. Chair and members of the City Utilities Committee. I am honored to stand before you today on behalf of Mayor Dickens to introduce Mr. James Gregory Ireland for the new Commissioner of the Department of Watershed Management. Mr. Ireland, as many of you have probably figured out and you've had an opportunity to meet him, is a respected public servant and dedicated to the management, use, and protection of water-based infrastructure. He most recently worked as the director for the City of Houston's Department of Water Division and started with us in Atlanta on April 1st of this year. One of the things that you've heard the mayor say is Atlanta's infrastructure is critical to our city's continued growth and prosperity, demanding visionary and experienced leadership to transform our systems. Mr. Ireland started as an entry-level high-level frontline utility operator over 30 years ago, and from there moved on to the director of Houston Water, which is the largest city-managed water and wastewater utility in the United States. I can tell you that I've heard from the staff that he's been walking around 72 Peachtree, just walking around talking to people, getting to know people. Just the other day, he sent me a picture. He was out with the Oleo team on a repair, and he had done the cut in the street. And I asked him if that was why the cut was crooked, and to make sure that the Oleo team jumped back on it. But I can tell you he has been one who has been very engaged since April 1st with the staff and with the city as a whole, and as with many council members. So at this time, I would present to you the mayor's recommendation for Watershed Commissioner, Mr. James Gregory Ireland.
Good morning, council. I'll be very brief. We are here to support the mayor's 4 pillars for moving Atlanta forward. The Department of Watershed Management's primary mission is to protect public health and safety and the environment. That is what our mission is. We do that through 3 means. We supply safe, uninterrupted service of drinking water to our 1.2 million folks in the region, as well as Atlantans. We treat the wastewater and reclaim that water, so it's within all state and federal guidelines that goes to our receiving streams, which here is the Chattahoochee River. And we protect our watersheds, both the water quality of the water that flows into our creeks and rivers, as well as protect our population and mitigate the impacts of potential flooding in the area. So those are our 3 primary missions in watershed management, which directly supports the mayor's vision for moving Atlanta ahead. Thank you.
Anything from my colleagues? It's been moving properly second, moved by Councilmember Shook, second by Councilmember Boone. Please open the vote. I'll tell you, Mr. Early, I want to make sure that we can drink some faucet water again in the city of Atlanta. And so that's what I grew up on faucet water. And I know a lot of people, bottled water price is going up. I want to drink some more faucet water. So thank you. I look forward to drinking that.
The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable. Mr. Chair, that takes us back to Section 8, presentations, updates, and reports.
Please proceed. Commissioner Garman, how are you?
I'm doing well, Chairman Lewis. Thank you.
Good to see you.
Good to see you. Good to see you in this committee. I'm Keturah Garman, Interim Commissioner for the Department of Public Works. I'll be providing our FY 2025 Q3 quarterly report. The theme throughout is going to be focused on DPW doing the good work of service delivery, and I believe that what you will see in the data provided in this presentation will more than adequately support that. Additionally, before I start, I want to recognize just a couple of things that the department has engaged in, and I want to thank this committee for their support. We've been on this campaign of taking care of the whole person for several months now. And so we launched an effort a little while ago wherein we brought out, from a health standpoint, we partnered with HR, EAP, also United Health and Kaiser to come out and do health checks at our facilities. I want to thank specifically those council members. Chairman Lewis, thank you so much for your attendance. Councilman Boone, thank you so much for your attendance and supporting the staff. It was greatly appreciated. In addition, financial literacy throughout our installations, our frontline workers. There was a campaign where we launched We just finished up this past week with Atlanta Credit Union engaged and involved at our facilities. Also Empower were engaged in our facilities because we understand that especially in this economy, it is important that people understand the necessity of being fiscally responsible in their personal lives. And so again, tremendous thanks to this committee for their support. In this report, we're also going to talk about storm recovery efforts. I'll ask that Mr. Moses Tajuso please stand. Tracy Chambers, Yusuf McCaskill, and also Mike Mason, Timothy Fitzgerald. These represents the divisions that had a tremendous response and support of other departments during that time. Oftentimes, you know, with commissioners and deputy commissioners, we always have to be on call to respond, but these are the good men and women that actually are out there with our frontline workers doing the good work. And so if we could just give a hand to these folks, because again, tremendous work. I'll jump right into the slides here. I'll spend some time on each one, but any additional details that are required, we're happy to provide those in the question and answer portion or as additional data as we have done in times past. Apparently you all have up the last report that we sent, but that's okay. The slides still should be in the right order. So the first thing that I'll go to is this slide, which goes over.
Are you saying, I apologize, you say it's the wrong report up?
It's been
Can we switch?
augmented, and we sent an updated one on Friday afternoon, but we can work from this one for the sake of time. If you all have time to put up the correct one, that would be awesome.
I got time.
Okay, good deal.
Yeah, we want to make sure we get this stuff right. And
Thank you.
another applause for Mr. Moses and Ms. Tracy. I've seen the work in our district.
Another applause.
I've seen the work in our district. I see when you send out people, I'm able to talk to employees, and so truly thankful for our essential workers, essential frontline workers. I know we called them that during the COVID-19. They still are essential frontline workers. Thank you.
And we'll also be providing some details to this committee for the results and participation that we have, particularly in our health fair and also in our financial literacy. We don't have that right now, but I think it's important for you to know the level of participation of our frontline workers. We hit all of our installations from our special operations at Chester, from our fleet operations at Clare Drive, and from our Maddox Park and also Lakewood operations, so 4, and also here at City Hall. But the effort was, again, to focus on those frontline heroes, and I want to provide some level of specificity to the level of participation.
And I'll tell you, I sit on the pension board, so I'm in those meetings talking to Empower and Eric Berry, young man from Empower, telling him to make sure he's talking to people, because we know when folks retire, they don't get Social Security. So we want to make sure they actually invested in all of the things they're supposed to. And so just making sure that folks are taken care of. I come out of the union, and so I understand the 3 pillars of the retirement. But Councilmember Boone.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. While we get the screen up, just wanting to thank you for that health fair. I think it was 3 or 4 days of health fair, traveling from Chester Avenue to all of the stations. We caught high blood pressure from many of our employees, other illnesses, so thank you for bringing that to the employees. I have never seen that before at one of the sites, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
And the newsletter, the social media and newsletter that came out afterwards, they talked about it, because a lot of our frontline workers are my friends.
Absolutely.
And so when they see themselves in the newsletter, they always show me. And so thank you for the newsletter and your social media team for the work they're doing.
Absolutely.
Do we have it? Okay.
I'll mention, I was going to mention in the report, but I'll go ahead and say it now. Speaking to our newsletter, our frontline heroes often go, unrecognized and unnoticed. But one of the things that meant so much as a part of the newsletter effort is that our fire chief, Smith, actually wrote a letter in this past newsletter talking specifically to the service that he and his family had received from some of our frontline heroes. And we took the opportunity to actually post that in our newsletter. And I shared with him on yesterday that I personally have seen upwards of about 16 comments, either in person or via email, asking, well, you know, how can I get frontline workers, how can I get recognized in that way? We've never seen that before. But it just speaks to it's important that when we have the opportunity to call out the good work, the wonderful work that our frontline heroes are doing, I'll just encourage us to please do that. And a big thanks to the fire chief for his willingness to put pen to paper and to recognize our folks in that way.
That's a good man, our chief. And y'all, I know y'all positions are full, but y'all need to work on a boots on the ground video whenever y'all, if we do open up some positions. But thankful that we don't have. We are full. I hope we were able to go through that today, talk about the jobs, because I know we've been able to fill up some of these positions, but thankful. But if you do open up, we may have to do a boots on the ground video.
Absolutely, absolutely. All righty. So I'll go ahead for the sake of time and respectful of time, go ahead and jump into the presentation. Again, I'm Kentori Garment, the Interim Commissioner for the Department of Public Works. This will be covering Q3 of FY 2025, January to March. Going into our garbage collecting performance, so for the quarter, curbside collection crews canvassed over 1 million, to be exact, 1.3 million garbage collection stops. Approximately 5% of stops had issues reported. When we say issues, this is what our frontline heroes recognize when they are actually out en route. The most common issue reported was not out, okay? With 66,000 instances where no carts was set out when our crews arrived to service them. Thus, missed garbage cases represented 1/100th of 1%, 1/100th of 1% of total stops for the quarter, again, doing the good work of service delivery. This also coincides with the case data that we get from 311, showing again that less than 1% of the total stops that we make, less than 1%. Of course, our efforts are to capture all garbage, and we have a 24-hour time that when there is missed garbage for us to go back out and do that collection. But a 99.5% success rate is what we're capturing today. On our recycling, curbside collection canvassed again over 1 million, to be exact, 1.2 million recycling collection stops. The most common exception again was not out, accounted for over 130,000 instances of missed recycling cart, again doing the good work of service delivery. Going to our yard trimmings, curbside collection crews canvassed over 1 million, to be exact, 1.4 million yard trimming stops. Approximately 22% of stops had issues reported. Not out was the most common issue that was reported. Yard trimmings may not be present at all stops because constituents do not use this service as regularly as they do garbage or recycling. Despite this, total stops increased by 19% over the quarter. This was driven by higher spring season setouts. Moving from solid waste services over to our special operations. DPW completed 88% of a total of 3,200 completion of multifamily collections, demonstrating a strong overall performance. The most common issue encountered was blocked access, followed by locked gates and unreachable addresses. March saw the highest monthly completion rate at 93%, indicating a positive trend in operational efficiency, again, doing the good work of service delivery. Next, cart delivery. Cart delivery team handled over 5,300 cases. DPW resolved 95% of all cart-related cases. Cases increased by 6% over the quarter, with replacement cart for garbage as the most requested type. Our backyard Okay, this slide emphasizes the improved efficiency as evidenced by 99% completion rate for over 70,000 stops and a 3% increase in completed stops compared to the previous quarter. This slide also notes that fewer than 1% of stops faced issues, with blocked access being the most common problem. Moving over to our suite. DPW had 3,117 suite general investigation cases. 59% of the cases resolved within the SLA, making an 8% increase from the previous quarter. Operationally, suite is working to balance quality service delivery with operational capacity and growing demand. Nearly 40% of all investigations, patrols, and re-inspections are tied to illegal dumping, highlighting its growing impact across right-of-way violations. I want to stress that the vast majority of illegal dumping happens within the right-of-way, which makes it difficult to tie it to an entity or a person, therefore writing a citation. But the number of cases captured and our service delivery in that area captures that we are indeed responding in a very unique and professional way to illegal dumping. Moving to KABC, the Keep Atlanta Beautiful Commission. KABC organized 55 community cleanups, mobilizing 700 volunteers who collectively contributed over 1,400 hours of service throughout this period. 48 miles of area was cleaned, resulting in collection of 23 tons of trash. The increase in the number of community cleanups, volunteers, and tons of trash collected reflects a more impactful quarter in terms of cleanup efforts and community participation. Moving to the Office of Fleet Services. This slide highlights Fleet's in-house maintenance performance. Do want to stress that in-house maintenance performance is where we want to pivot to, which is why we had a strong initiative to bring on mechanics 1, 2, and 3 within Fleet Services. This data is broken down by department. Fleet recorded over 29,000 wrench time hours. APD vehicles accounting for 27% of the total labor hours, followed by DPW at 25%, largely due to frequent service needs for garbage trucks. Proud to say that we are certainly in the process of procuring new trucks, thanks to this administration and their efforts to understand the necessity of equipment to service the needs of the citizens of Atlanta. Other departments, including fire rescue, aviation, watershed, parks and recreation, made up the remaining 43%. On the performance metrics, this slide outlines the number of repairs completed by fleet mechanics and highlights repairs outsourced to commercial vendors due to their complexity. Again, us staffing up accordingly for mechanics 1, 2, and 3 will allow us to handle more repairs in-house, therefore not leaning heavily on our contractual partnerships. Fleet completed 4,600 in-house repairs and outsourced 595 commercial repairs, totaling 5,220 repairs. In-house repairs are typically completed faster and are certainly preferred when possible. This slide details Fleet's equipment purchases for the quarter. Fleet received 247 vehicles and pieces of equipment totaling almost $9 million, reflecting a 26% increase over the previous quarter across all serviced departments. Moving to our safety division. DPW had 12 students completing general safety training, 26 in flagger training, 52 in defensive driving. 312. I'm sorry, the slide numbers I'm getting a little inaccurate, but total training hours, 426, general safety training, 36, certified flagger training, 78, and $312 for certified defensive driving. Apologies for that. Moving into our org chart, would like to note that DPW has 3 deputy commissioners, all of which handle a particular operational component of the department, which is broken down into solid waste services. Most of us are familiar with that vis-a-vis garbage collection and recycling, fleet services, which is interdepartmental, not necessarily customer facing to the constituency, and then our special operations, which handles illegal dumping and right of way. So each of our deputy commissioners has an operational division that they oversee along with administrative functions throughout the department. Our staffing scorecard, overall DPW has a total of 758 positions, 638 positions filled, 120 vacant positions, 84% filled. I can give some details on this because there is certainly a difference between positions that are allocated and funded positions and approved essential positions, but not necessarily funded. We're proud to say that our efforts to staff up accordingly has placed us in a position to meet the needs of the citizens of Atlanta. Moving over to finance. DPW is budgeted at $102 million. We are at $87 million as of this projection for the quarter, which is 85% of the budget for the quarter. Details are noted in the actuals column by fund usage. Fleet services has reached 99% of expenditures due to an increase in commercial repairs for aging equipment, stockpiling of parts in anticipation of tariff hikes, and higher internal repair costs. Additionally, the high burn rate in salaries and benefits is tied to the pay study adjustments. Speaking of our special projects and events, Operations Clean Sweep continues to remove debris and illegal dumping citywide. Community volunteers collected 23 tons of litter and cleared 48 miles of roadway. That's just our volunteer efforts. Our boots on ground efforts, DPW addressed 1,186 dumping sites and serviced over 100,000 right-of-way receptacles. DPW maintained 1,325 miles of right-of-way during this period. Street sweepers collected over 1,300 tons of litter and drove a total of more than 10,000 miles, collecting about 7.3 tons of litter per mile they drove. Our special events, so I kind of end here kind of how I started. Employee health screenings at our installations are noted. You can see the good work that was done. In January, we had smart cans installations along the MLK corridor, which we will continue with those efforts. Our winter storm recovery, which we recognize some of our leaders who are in the audience today, and our internship and career expo, which we are still participating, to let people know about the opportunities within DPW. And of course, our March health screenings, again, which we want to thank this committee, more specifically Chairman Lewis and Councilmember Boone, for their continued support and participation. Our frontline heroes, we certainly want to recognize that we had over 75 years combined between the 3 individuals that you see on your screen, Ms. Chandra Jones, Mr. Gregory Gray, and Ms. Cheryl Hegemon. We understand that people must retire, but they are a great loss to this department. Proud to say that we had ceremonies for their departure. I want to thank this committee for their recognition as we were able to present them with proclamation and retirement and their retirement gifts. But again, tremendous civil servants, and so proud for their contributions to the city of Atlanta, and more specifically to this department. Again, thank you to this committee for all that you do to support DPW. And that concludes the presentation.
Thank you, Commissioner. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues? Councilmember Juan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Commissioner, for the presentation. Appreciate the detail. I do want to jump into page 32, which is your positions. You said that you have more detail in terms of particularly the vacant positions, that there is a portion of it that's funded and a portion that is unfunded. Is that correct?
Yes,
Do you have those numbers with you by chance?
I do. I do, actually. I want to stress that positions come at sometimes critical need, and they are certainly approved positions and are considered essential. So for total 181 is what we have approved, noted as essential positions, but are not considered in the funded or allocated funded category. And then a total of 475 from a field perspective in the allocated and funded category. Again, this is not provided on the screen, but it gives a breakdown. The committee asked for such a breakdown in our last quarterly. Thank you to Chairman Lewis for asking for that specification. We were able to provide it along with some bulleted detail, and we're happy to share that again, that same manner of specificity and detail so that you are fully connected to the staffing of the department.
Oh, okay, sorry. You've got confused me a little bit here. So you said there's 181 approved and then 475 filled? Is that what you just told me?
No, both filled. Both are in the field category, but I'm breaking them down as according to allocated funded and then essential approved positions, but not necessarily funded. And again, the detail that we provided to Chairman Lewis, I'm happy to send that back out again.
Okay. Yeah, this is one of the challenges with the way these numbers are presented when it's not just you, it's all the departments when they come up. Because if I add 475 with the 181, I get 656, and it doesn't tick or tie to any of the numbers that are presented on this page. And then what I'm trying to get at, though, is the vacant positions, the 120. How many of those are unfunded? Because as we're now in the budget process, we're seeing numbers fly at us during the budget presentations that aren't matching either. So I think we may have to take this offline, but nothing is lining up for me here, and it's causing more confusion as we are trying to assess what our appropriate staffing levels should be going into 2026. So I'm just going to put a pin in that because I can't really make heads or tails out of the slide or the information you provided me. So let's try page 34 then, in terms of the financial performance to date.
Councilman Warren, if I could just give a little bit more detail about the staffing.
Okay.
And so, because I want to make sure that we, give the highest level of accuracy possible. And so what you're looking at here on the slide, again, covers from January to March, right? So the numbers that I just shared with you are the most updated ones, okay? In addition to that, the field positions are broken down into two categories, which are not represented on the slide. That's what I'm sharing with you verbally, but again, I'm happy to share those with you. I did not go over the vacant positions, and I did not go over the specificity in the allocated position, but I'm happy to share the most recent numbers in a breakdown chart for you.
Okay, so thank you. That helps. So you're saying the 656, the two numbers you gave me that add up to 656, the ties against the 638 filled positions, and just from then until now, we've managed to fill 18 positions.
That's correct.
Perfect.
That's
okay.
correct.
But yeah, the vacant positions, it would be helpful to understand which ones of those are funded versus unfunded. I'm going to presume that they're all unfunded based on what we're hearing in the budget process. But if you can get that to me, that'd be great.
Absolutely.
All right, so on the financial piece of it, let's start with fleet services. They're at end of third quarter, they've already spent their full year allocated budget at 99%. And so I'm curious as to if we're just extrapolating a quarterly run rate, are we projecting an $11 million roughly overage in their line item budget for the year, or have y'all guesstimated that yet for the full year?
Yeah, so we've calculated an estimate somewhere between 9 and 10.
Okay.
And I do want to stress here that I certainly understand, and the department is committed to fiscal responsibility. But there is a portion of this that we can tie to the comp and class study, in addition to the maintenance hours that we are logging for aged equipment. And this is across all departments. As we increased our manpower, particularly mechanics 1, 2, and 3, this is something that had to be expected because now we have the laborers to actually do the work. In addition, we went through an upgrade with our system of operation, Asset Works, which allows us to capture more readily the work that our mechanics are doing. In addition to that, we are looking to provide future state detailed invoicing to all departments so that they are keyed in on exactly what we're doing, how we're doing it, and the amount of effort that is tied to that.
Okay, thank you for that detail. This is another piece that is not tying to, and I know you haven't come present your budget presentation for FY26, but your other line items, solid waste, general fund, and water and wastewater, are running 3/4, as they should be, roughly, of our original budget. And your $102.9 million is part of the $850 million budget that we passed. Yet we're hearing now and learned that we're now running for FY25 a $990 million budget. So someone needs to help me reconcile why we're not seeing overages in your other line items too, commensurate with the increased budget, projected FY25 budgets that we're hearing in budget presentations.
And so as you noted, Councilmember One, we are due for our budget presentation, I think, this coming Thursday. And we'll certainly be prepared to provide higher level of detail to the numbers for the department. I'll ask that you give us the opportunity to present that level of detail in that presentation.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And just know that basically what I'm going to be looking at, my question will drill down to when you come and present your projected FY25 budget, I'm anticipating a jump from the $102 million that we approved. And my question will be why we weren't already seeing it in the first 3 quarters, and why, if it was all backloaded in fourth quarter. So yeah, we'll talk about this at your budget presentation, but yeah, Mr. Chair, I yield. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Shook.
Thank you, Mr. Wan. Covered my questions for the most part. With the follow-up on one of his lines, I'm going to take advantage of the COO's presence and just to say that I think this year's personnel paper is going to be a more important document relative to the budget than perhaps in past years. And so for that reason, it's going to be really helpful if you can push that out to us as quickly as possible, because I think we're going to have to spend more time than usual digesting that, just as FY25 and 26 are requiring more time to digest. When do you think you could get that to it? And I understand that what we see will be the first of multiple substitutes. That's just the nature of the beast. But when can we just see what y'all are thinking?
Thank you, Councilmember Shook, and again to Mr. Chair and members of the committee, LaShondra Burks, Chief Operating Officer. We are working on trying to get that to you as soon as possible. We had a first review of it on yesterday. I think this personnel paper will be very different than those that you have seen in the past. You will see a lot of abolishments of extra help, moving those into permanence. You will begin to see abolishments of positions that are not funded because having the vacancy review board is going to help us have controls on that. Because what we have seen in the past is that if the positions remain and they're unfunded, the departments over time will move forward in filling those positions. And so I think you'll see the transactions will not be nearly as many as you have seen in previous years, but when you do see transactions, you will begin to see a lot of abolishments in this one, just so that we can make sure we have controls in place. But we are finalizing it. Each department has submitted. We're doing some reviews. I've sent back some questions to some departments this week. So we will make sure you all have it at least a couple of days before. I think you all look at that next Thursday. So it'll be our goal to get it to you on next Tuesday.
Yeah, the earlier the better. Appreciate it.
You're
Thank you.
welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any more questions from my colleagues? Councilmember Boone?
Yes, again, I just want to commend you all on the great work that you all do and taking care of the workforce. That is very important, especially as we look at the weather changing, make sure they are hydrated and have all of the ice and coolers. We just appreciate everything you all do to take care of the workforce. They are doing a fine job. We receive less and less complaints. Again, thank you all so much, especially Ms. Tracy and Mr. Moses. Thank you.
And just a few comments. Smart cans on MLK, if we can get them on University and Cleveland Avenue. University Avenue, Cleveland Avenue, and Murphy Avenue, the three large avenues in District 12. I walk down Cleveland Avenue, I can count 3 trash cans, and you counted them with me.
Absolutely.
And so that's the entire street. And so I'm thinking about why people probably throw trash down. If you walk from, and it's a high transit area where people are walking from gas station to apartments to gas station, no trash cans on the entire street forever. So we can get 3, more than the 3 that we have, and make it in smart cans if possible. And that's on Cleveland, University, and Murphy. Higher cost to fix stuff. And so now that we've brought on our own mechanics, how's that going for us? Is it cheaper or is it more expensive for us?
So what we've found is that not only for fleet services, but for any of the services that we provide, when we go with in-house labor as opposed to contract labor, it's twofold. So there's the cost element, which we have experienced that we can do it cheaper, and then there's the quality element. So we brought on a quality assurance team, I think now over 2 years ago. They not only assess the quality of our internal workers, but they also assess the quality of our contractual labor. And quality scores are provided. And again, we have found that from an in-house perspective, bet on DPW workers every time because they show up and they show out.
Okay, so our hourly workers are able to do, people that we've trained are able to do the job.
Absolutely.
Just thinking about my union background, traveling across the country, working with different cities, more progressive cities, knowing about Philadelphia, New York, and DC, they did it like this, and they did the work in-house. So happy to see us doing that, and happy to see
I'll
us
also, if I may also add, Chairman Lewis, what we found is that with additional training and refreshers, that the work even gets better. So it shows that a trained workforce, the more training that you do, the more you're connecting them to the new technologies that we bring on board, right, that they will show improvement. And so there's a direct correlation to the amount of effort that we put in training and then the output that we get from our workers.
And I say that because I remember when I was first elected, the conversation Mr. Hillis was having about police cars going back out, about fire trucks and stuff going back out. The issue was our cars were just sitting at a lot somewhere. Mm-hmm. And I remember Mr. Hillis actually drove by the lot a few times to tell us they were there. And so now we're doing it. I immediately, with my colleagues, we started trying to build partnerships over at Atlantic to build up this process in-house. So I'm happy to see this happening the right way.
Absolutely.
2 more quick things. Once again, Moses Alou and Tracy Chambers. The thank you for your service and to the city of Atlanta. I've been talking to a lot of our frontline essential workers, and the names that I hear a lot of, Moses Alou and Tracy Chambers. So thank you for your service to the city, and thank you again, Commissioner, for empowering your department to grow the way you're growing. Cleveland Avenue, Metropolitan Parkway, University needs trash cans, and Fairlane Drive, what I keep sending you, if possible, Fairlane Drive, the same exact cut, somebody dropped some more trash. So today when you do the cleanup on the street that we do the Cleveland cleanup on, if you can get them to take care of Fairlane Drive again. Thank you.
If I may add, and just in final comment, I want to send a personal thanks to this committee. There are those of you who actually take the time to come out and visit with our workers, speak to them when they're out on route. The different events that we put on, you all show up for those. It means a lot to them. The ride-alongs, if you notice that every ride-along that I've done, specifically with Councilwoman Boone and Chairman Lewis, I bring a team with me, right? That means a lot to them to be able to be a part of that. Thank you all for taking the time, and thank you for your continued support for this department. Our workers know you all. They know you by name, they know you by face, and it's because of the support that you continue to give to this department. Thank you so very much.
And I'll tell you, y'all have pushed back the limbs and the trees in areas in my district I didn't even know you were supposed to push it back. And so continue to give us our right-of-ways the way you're giving us our right-of-ways. We're happy about that. We didn't know you'd do that. So, and we'll be, I actually got some more that I need you to go look at too. So the moment I think of the street names, I'll send them to you. The moment I think of the street names, I'll send them to you.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you.
The Johnson, let's proceed. Mr. Johnson, let's proceed.
This takes us to our consent agenda, Section H, ordinance for first reading, item number 325-01269. An ordinance by City Utilities Committee authorizing the Commissioner of the Department of Watershed Management or his designee to execute a consent order with the Environmental Protection Division, Department of Natural Resources of the state of Georgia to authorize payment pursuant to the consent order in amount of $156,833.25 to resolve permit compliance violations, including unpermitted discharges and effluent permit limit exceedances from July 2023 through November 2024 and for other purposes. This takes us to our regular agenda, Section I, ordinance for second reading, item number 4, 25-01224. An ordinance by City Utilities Committee waiving Part 2, Chapter 2, Article 10, Division 4 of the Atlanta City Code to authorize the mayor or his designee to exercise the second renewal option for special procurement agreement number listed herein, annual contract for on-call diving services with Salmons Dredging Corporation on behalf of the Department of Watershed Management for a term of 1 year, retroactively effective from March 14, 2025 through March 13, 2026, an amount not to exceed $2,000,000 to authorize the mayor or his designee to ratify services rendered in connection with the agreement retroactively effective beginning March 14, 2025 through the exercise of the second renewal option, all contracted work to be charged to and paid from the fund, department, organization, and account numbers listed herein and for other purposes.
It's been moving properly second. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. The item is favorable. Item number 5, 25-01221. An ordinance by City Utilities Committee authorizing Chief Financial Officer to amend the fiscal year 2025 Water and Wastewater Commercial Paper Notes Fund budget an amount of $21,573,164.06 and the FY 2025 Water and Wastewater Renewal and Extension Fund budget an amount of $11,655,140.99 to transfer funds from watershed reserves for appropriation to add funds to the SG4 Small Diameter Rehab Sugar Creek Basin Outfall Project and for other purposes.
Move approval. It's been moving properly second by Councilmember Boone. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. The item is favorable. Mr. Chair, if there is no objection from the committee, the department requests to take item number 11 as a companion paper to item number 5.
Please do.
This takes us to Section J, resolutions. Item number 11, 25R 3451. A resolution by Councilmember Antonio Lewis authorizing the mayor or his designee to execute the Second Amendment to agreement number listed herein, Sewer Group 4, Small Diameter Rehabilitation Contract A with Ruby Collins Incorporated, on behalf of the on behalf of the Department of Watershed Management to add funding to the agreement in amount not to exceed $33,228,305.05. All contract will be charged to and paid from the fund, department, organization, and account number listed herein and for the purposes. Yes, Mr. Chair, this item need to be amended. The amendment makes a correction of the year of the consent group 4 milestone date to July 1st, 2025 in the 5th whereas clause.
Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. This item is amended. The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable as amended. This takes us back to item number 6, 25-0-1222, an ordinance by City Utilities Committee authorizing the mayor or his designee to exercise a second renewal option to agreement number listed herein, yard debris processing, hauling, and diversion program with Tag Grinding Services Incorporated on behalf of the Department of Public Works for a term of 1 year effective May 19, 2025 through May 18, 2026, an amount not to exceed $300,000.00 to add funding on behalf of the Department of Parks and Recreation, an amount not to exceed $500,000.00 to waive the requirements of the Procurement and Real Estate Code, Chapter 2, Article 10 of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances to the extent of any conflict with this ordinance. All contract work we charge to and pay from the fund, department, organization, and account numbers listed herein and for other purposes.
Move approval.
Substitute.
Oh, bring forth the substitute. Anything from the department.
I don't think there's a substitute for this paper.
So, so move, any questions? Mr. Warren.
This actually may be for parks. It's tag grinding, but it's just for yard. What specifically? Is it for tree stump grinding?
Yes, so Public Works and the Department of Parks and Recreation uses it at our facility off of James Jackson Parkway, our Hartsfield Yard Trimming Processing Facility. The Forestry Division grinds their tree stumps there. They process them. Tag does.
Okay, so this does cover that service then?
Yes.
So I see Mr. Voss in the audience, and I know that during the parks budget presentation, we talked about the backlog there, and I'm just wondering, is this our opportunity to potentially increase funding and get caught up, or does this get us caught up?
I would say, Councilmember Doug Voss, Department of Parks, this probably actually just ensures that we have everything we need to get caught up. This is that process that allows tree stumps, that are falling in the road and in parks to be ground and moved efficiently out. Work really well with Kanika and the team with DPW to make sure we always have this resource available.
Okay, I was just gonna say, I mean, if we've got this open and we're adding funds, I'm kind of looking at you to make sure that we're adding enough to address the backlog that you heard complaints about during the budget hearing.
We
So you
have.
feel okay?
I do, and we actually have added additional funds to just anticipate, we're going to have storms, and so that's baked in there as well.
Okay, is there already a motion?
I have a few questions, Mr. Voss. So this is for one location, or because $10,000, or is it, because we have stumps that need to be removed?
Well, this actually, just to be clear, this actually probably, unless it's a root ball, which when the tree falls and we take the entire stump, this is actually going to be just for mainly the logs and the limbs themselves. Stumps are generally ground or they're taken out if they come out as a root ball, but generally this is going to be just your large tree trunks and limb debris.
So I have some right now on Fairlane Drive. There are some trees that the city cut up a while ago, and then they just left them on the side. They've been put to the side perfectly, beautifully, but we would love they come pick them up. Fairlane Drive so that's the street, and you can't, it's in the cut.
Okay.
Please, Mr. Grumman, you can't give them the address where it is. I would love if you all can come and get the stumps. If
Happy to
possible.
look.
That $10,000 is gonna do this for us?
No.
Okay, but it's 10, right?
That's next one.
Okay, all right. Move approval.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. The item is favorable.
Please proceed.
This takes us to item number 725-01223, an ordinance by City Utilities Committee authorizing the mayor or his designee to accept on behalf of the Atlanta Department of Public Works, a donation in amount not to exceed $10,000 from Pratt Recycling Incorporated for the purpose of supporting the city's recycling education initiative, to authorize the chief financial officer to amend the FY 2025 Solid Waste Revenue Fund budget to anticipate and appropriate the donation and for other purposes.
Second, it's been moving properly second. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. The item is favorable. Item number 825-01245, an ordinance by City Utilities Committee authorizing Chief Financial Officer to amend the FY 2025 Water and Wastewater Renewal and Essential Fund budget in an amount of $8 million and 0 cents to transfer funds from watershed reserves for appropriation to add funds to the Green Infrastructure Valley of Hawks project and for other purposes.
Second, it's been moving properly second. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. The item is favorable. Mr. Chair, item number 9 requires a substitute. The substitute changes the caption. May we have a motion to bring forth a substitute?
Second, it's been moving properly second. Moved by Councilmember Wan, second by myself. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. Substitute before you. The substitute increases the funding amount to $499,000. Item number 9, 250-1254, an ordinance by Councilmember Andrea L. Boone and substituted by City Utilities Committee, waiving Part 2, Chapter 2, Article 10, Division 4 of the Atlanta City Code to execute the First Amendment to the Emergency Procurement Agreement number listed herein for small meter installation with Titan Unlimited LLC on behalf of the Department of Watershed Management to extend the term of the agreement retroactively effective from January 15, 2025 through January 14, 2026, to ratify services rendered concomitant with the agreement beginning January 15, 2025 through the execution of the First Amendment to add funding to the agreement in the amount not to exceed $499,800 and 0 cents. All contracted work will be charged to and paid from the fund, department, organization, and account numbers listed herein and for other purposes.
We have a question from my colleague.
Yeah, I'm just curious as to the increase from the original 300,000 to almost 500,000.
Good morning, Chairman Lewis, members of council,
Morning.
Councilman Shook. Basically, this started out as an emergency contract, and we were hoping to have a full procurement in place. So the original budget was based on a shorter period of time. So since we ran over time-wise, we also need additional funding. And that's also the same case for the next request.
Thank you.
Second, it's been moved by Councilmember Wan, second by Councilmember Lewis. Please open the vote. Thank you.
The vote is open. Will everyone please vote? The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. The item is favorable on substitute. Item number 1025-01255, an ordinance by Councilmember Andrea L. Boone, waiving Part 2, Chapter 2, Article 10, Division 4 of the Atlanta City Code to execute the First Amendment to Emergency Procurement Agreement number listed herein for small meter installation with KM Davis Contracting Company Incorporated on behalf of the Department of Watershed Management to extend the term of the agreement retroactively effective from January 15th, 2025 through January 14, 2026, to ratify services rendered concomitant with the agreement beginning January 15, 2025, through the execution of the First Amendment to add funding to the agreement in amount not to exceed $2,700,000.00. All contract award will be charged to and paid from the fund, department, organization, and account number listed herein and for other purposes.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second, moved by Councilmember One, second by Councilmember Boone. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. The item is favorable. Mr. Chair, item number 12 requires a substitute. The substitute changes the caption. May we have a motion to bring forth the substitute?
Please bring it forward. Thank you.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. The substitute is before you. The substitute incorporates the cooperative agreement number, vendor, term of the agreement, and the funding amount. Item number 12, 25R3452, a resolution by Councilmember Antonio Lewis as substituted by City Utilities Committee, authorizing the mayor or his designee to execute cooperative agreement number listed herein with Carasoft Technology Corporation pursuant to Section 2-1602 of the Atlanta City Code, utilizing the Georgia Department of Administrative Services cooperative purchasing contract number listed herein on behalf of the Department of Watershed Management for a term to commence from the date of execution through September 15, 2026, with no renewals for revenue generating services, all revenue to be deposited in the fund, department, organization, and account number listed herein and for other purposes.
Can we have someone from the department come up, please? Mr. Shook, Councilmember Shook has a few questions. Oh, go ahead.
Good morning. My name is, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
My name is Jonathan Williams. I'm Deputy Commissioner for the Office of Watershed. One of the biggest opportunities that Watershed has to manage our own destiny is to get further engaged in collections. With the decision in 2010 to suspend single-family homes that weren't paying their bills, we're all aware that the amount went up through the roof. At this point, we're getting involved in as many different options as possible to get control and understand who owes us money, how much they owe us. And one of these is called Promise Pay. It allows people to, on a mobile device, look at their bill, set up a payment plan, ask questions, have some interaction. With over 30,000 accounts that are in arrears, we need to exercise every possible engagement we can. We are bringing on some external human resources, but we want to use technology as well. So this action asks for us to be able to leverage a co-op agreement that already exists at the Office of the State. So we can get a great price on this, find out if it works, and try to put it in place as soon as possible. That ends my remarks. I'm happy to answer any questions.
So the funding amount is in the form of a formula.
It is. In fact, rather than us paying them an outright fee, they get a percentage of the amount that comes in. And so they're not paying us a net amount. Somebody owes $10, they pay us $10, then we're billed for the amount that we've agreed to from a contractual basis. So we're not dealing with a lot of corrective activity on the open receivable, and our books are clean. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Councilmember One.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I'm presuming that fee is 8%. I see it through the legislation.
That's it.
I'm a little surprised we're doing this through September of next year with no renewals. I mean, it almost kind of presupposes that we think we're going to solve and get everything we need within the next year. So what was the rationale behind that?
The rationale is that's when the contract that we were leveraging ends. We have no intention of just going 1 year, but since their contract ends next September, we couldn't extend their terms until they get to their re-up period. So our full expectation is to continue this after that.
Okay, I'm glad to hear that, especially given the dollar amounts that are outstanding. I would ask in future watershed presentations to this committee, that when we talk about the outstanding debts, it would be helpful to know, even breaking down what we're collecting, what's being we're able to recover in-house with the procedures that you have, separate from what this is bringing in. So
Absolutely, because we don't, if we're doing things on our behalf that actually bring the funds in,
Right.
we don't want to pay a piece of it. But larger to your question, and it came out of the budget discussion last week, I'm preparing a presentation for all of the staff so you guys can understand what's owed by whom, how old it is, what are the processes for each one, how do we conduct the rationale that gets us to write-offs. There's a lot that we need to go through so that it puts our statements in context when we come in front of you guys.
And operationally, are you tranching our debts? I mean, obviously,
Absolutely.
we don't want them to be calling and us to be calling at the same time, but
No, we're
y'all have a
very-
strategy behind that?
Very careful and deliberate, so we're not giving them accounts that people are paying anyway.
Right.
To be honest, right now, our collection rate on current billings is about 90%. It's the old stuff that we're going to need help with. And that's where we need additional information about where they are, who's on the account, all those things. So it doesn't make sense to do anything other than the tranche that you suggest.
Are we giving them all of the
No.
old ones, or we're just giving kind of the tougher ones, or the?
The ones that we don't have information on.
Oh.
So we're having to go through them line by line and not just hand over a group of accounts to anybody.
Well, I'm hopeful that this is able to shake some coins from the sofa for us too. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Well, I got a few questions as well.
Yes,
so,
sir.
is this for single-family homes only?
No, it's anybody who has an account, a water account, will be able to log in and see the status up there. Bill.
Yeah, like businesses too, right?
Yeah, commercial, single-family, multifamily, anyone who has an account will have access to, and ultimately, will have access to usage that happens more concurrently than 1 month at a time. We're seeking to move to some expensive but rather very much worth it technology that will allow people to see their daily usage and, figure out when they've got a problem early on. So no, it's not just single-family, to answer your question.
Thank you. I'm excited about that prospect. I just want to make sure we're focused. We're not focusing on just single family. So thank you
No.
for the answer.
Certainly.
It's been moved and properly second. Please open the vote. Moved by Councilmember Shook, second by Councilmember Wan. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable on substitute. Mr. Chair, we have 2 items coming off held. The first is on page 7, item number 13 by sound the caption.
Yes, please.
Item number 13, 25-01078, an ordinance by City Utilities Committee authorizing the Chief Financial Officer to amend the FY 2025 Water and Wastewater Renewal and Extension Fund budget an amount of $4,688,184.00 to transfer funds from watershed reserves for appropriations to add funds to the water supply tunnel project and for other purposes.
It's been moved and properly second. Moved by Councilmember Wan, second by Councilmember Shook. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. The item is favorable. And our last item, item number 1625R3419, a resolution by City Utilities Committee authorizing the mayor or designee to execute an agreement for a contract listed herein, water supply tunnel system connection to Chattahoochee Water Treatment Plant with Ruby Collins SC Consultorium Joint Venture on behalf of the Department of Watershed Management to commence from the date a notice to proceed is issued for a period of 547 calendar days for substantial completion and 607 calendar days from notice to proceed for a final completion after the issuance of the notice to proceed, an amount not to exceed $13,788,184.00. All contract work we charge to and pay from the fund, department, organization, and account number listed herein and for other purposes. And Mr. Chair, this item will need to be amended. The amendment attached to the IPRO report, which was distributed via email.
It's been moved and properly second. Moved by Councilmember Wan, second by Councilmember Shook. Please open the vote.
One moment. The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. The item has been amended. The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. The item is favorable as amended. Mr. Chair, that concludes our legislative items for this morning.
And so, thank you for that. I would like to say that in the meeting notes, requested items from 22525, they were mostly to watershed management. If we can, now that we do now have a new commissioner of watershed, if we can have the watershed team look into these items and try to get them back to us. Thank you again. Let's go, let's get it.